Here we are being notified that a job has arrived in a Cabinet Pro folder in the form of an Excel CSV file. To import a cabinet list from an Excel sheet sent in CSV format by a dealer or by a customer, we first set up Cabinet Pro to accept such a list. At the setup screen for importing a cabinet list, we find which columns of our Excel sheet correspond to their equivalent fields shown here. In this example, our fields of interest are located in these columns within the CSV file, designated by the letters at the top, which are then placed in the corresponding column fields. In addition, Cabinet Pro needs to know how many total columns exist in the data fields, which in this case is 17, since the letter Q designates the 17th column. The format of this Excel sheet to include all headings, locations, and titles is 100% user-defined. For this example, the library cabinet to be brought into the job has been entered in column B, so we place the letter B in the cabinet library field. The cabinet's width, height, depth, and quantity are shown in these columns and are in no particular order. Those column letters are then entered in the appropriate boxes in Cabinet Pro. In like manner, we have a number of other pieces of information entered in designated columns such as scribes, fillers, shelves, finished ends, cabinet notes, and job notes. As before, the columns in which these pieces of information exist are placed in the appropriate boxes on our setup screen. The equivalent field of those boxes that are left blank will be ignored and will not overwrite the default values that are stored with the library cabinet that is brought into the job. And those cells that are left blank in the CSV file will not overwrite the default values that are stored with the library cabinet that is brought into the job. Those cabinets that do not exist in the library, such as these two, will be designated as not processed in the job notes that we will see later. So Cabinet Pro needs to know the row where our list of cabinets begin within the CSV file, which in this example is row 11, and entered in the appropriate box on our setup screen. The last row where our cabinet list ends is optional. It is used in the case where we have more data below the list of cabinets. If there is nothing below this list, then just leave this field blank or enter 0. We can have Cabinet Pro automatically inform us when an Excel list arrives in our folder via email with the message we saw at the opening screen. And if we have a quantity of a cabinet on our list, such as the 5 we see for this first cabinet, and we place a check in this option, we can have Cabinet Pro create 5 individual cabinets instead of one cabinet with a quantity of 5. Finally, specific job information such as customer, door style, drawer guides, material, and other information assigned to the job may be optionally used to designate the cell in which this information may be found. Once we have completed the setup form, we can exit our setup screen and import the job from our Excel CSV file by first accessing the cabinet library and then clicking the Import Cabinets button to select the cabinet list of our choice. Remember the 2 cabinets that are not in our cabinet library? They will be reported, as they are seen here, in a message at the end of the importing process and on the job notes within the cabinet editor. After a second or two, the cabinet list on our CSV file has been 100% processed and has become part of our job with all designated data on our Excel sheet replacing the data stored in the cabinet library for each cabinet brought out of the library and into our job. These cabinets are now ready to be processed in bidding, Cutlass reports, and CNC without any further modification. Unless in our job notes accessed in either the cabinet editor, the cut list editor, or the view menu, we either find cabinets that were not found in our cabinet library or notes about other cabinets referenced in our CSV file and written to the overall job file or notes to the cabinet itself. In our CSV file example, we had job notes defined in column D, while cabinet comments were defined in column L, columns that were noted in our setup screen. Our designated folder will, in all cases, be the Cabinet Jobs folder existing within the Excel folder under Cabinet Pro. This is where you should place your CSV files. By importing cabinets via Excel, we can be confident that no additional human errors have been introduced by manually having to re-enter these cabinets into our job, and your dealers or customers do not have to purchase or learn a version of Cabinet Pro in order to send a job to your company for processing.